Case 22-00041, Steeple Run Elementary School. We have a request for conditional use for a school addition to include a new 11,250 square foot classroom addition. And number two, a variation to reduce the rear setback from the required 50 feet to approximately 5 feet for reconfigured automobile parking lot. The matter was published in the Daily Herald on September 14th. 2022, and I have no objections by any of the authorities to the certain petition. I'm not sure about the exhibits. I need a survey as it was presenting.
All right, myself.
Who is me?
I am Craig Seafield with White Company.
Okay. What is White Company?
White Company is an architecture, engineering, and construction firm.
You've done it for us?
Yes, I have.
Okay, so we need a survey as exhibit 1, and a site plan as exhibit 2, and then I don't know what else we have here.
Yeah, so I have, so if everyone has this packet.
Guys. We need to make a record, so let's have everybody be sworn in. Identify first.
Would you raise your right hand?
Right hands and be sworn in.
You do solemnly swear affirm the testimony about to give at this class and our hearing will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. So help you God.
Okay, identify yourselves, please.
So I'm Craig Seafield with White Company.
Seatco?
Seafield, S-I.
You're speaking, please go up to the microphone.
Yes.
One speaker at a time, please. And I need somebody that's going to be the chief presenter.
My name is Craig Seafield with White and Company.
Can you spell your last name?
S-I-E, E as in Peter, K-A. With me presenting today, Mr. Sean Benson, a civil engineer. Just like it sounds, B-E-N as the way. And representing the district, Mr. Pat Dolan. He is the Buildings and Grounds Director. Representing School District 203. And then we have our traffic consultant with us here to answer whatever questions might come up from the board.
All right, exhibits. Where's your survey? Is this, I have a topographical survey. Is that the survey that you want to use as your main survey?
Correct. The first exhibit on top.
First of all, what do I have here?
All right, let me give you a quick. All right, so everyone in front of you, I have a little summary sheet that has some basic highlights of the project. If you go to the last sheet, it has every exhibit listed on what it is and numbered. So number 1 is plat of survey. And as you go down, we have existing conditions, site plans, floor plans, exterior elevations, rendering.
Could we just adopt our ordinary convention and take the surveys that's in the one on the site plan?
Sure, yes, we can call that.
Where is the survey and where is the site plan?
So the top sheet is a survey.
It's marked topographic survey.
Yeah, it's a full boundary topographic survey. And then if you go to number 5 and 6, we can 4 and 5, we can relabel as site plan 2.
We take what is marked as 5 and take that as exhibit 2, the site plan. And why do we need all the rest of this?
All the rest is just to answer questions and demonstrate what we're doing on the site. We don't have to go through every exhibit, but there are certain ones that we just want to make sure everybody's clear on the scope and operation of the project. Okay. So we don't, yeah.
I don't want to have. I don't want to say this. If you have an exhibit, it's because you need to present something in document. It's not for in case we have questions. So let's mark these decisions. We have what's 3 supposed to tell us?
So that's the overall existing conditions, and I want to present that to show the previous variances on the site and parking layout.
That's not shown in the survey?
Well, I want to highlight the setbacks. So I just made it clear.
Oh, sorry. Okay. You can do this any way you want, but this is, seems to be a very straightforward request, which is clutter up with a lot of extraneous information. What we read to as the survey, exhibit 1, is really a topographic survey. I don't think topography is an issue here, but if I'm wrong, we'll introduce this as an exhibit. If not, it's in the what is marked as exhibit 3 does clearly indicate the current configuration and highlights the setbacks. So it seems to me that ought to be your survey, exhibit 1.
That's acceptable. Perfect.
All right, then again, exhibit what is marked as exhibit 5 says site plans. So it appears shows proposed northeast addition, 10,630 square feet. And then it shows existing parking and variant setback. Is that what you're proposing to go to 5.1 feet?
Correct.
Well, then that's a good site plan for exhibit 2. So. Anyway, I'm not going to mark any of this, nor am I going to receive it until you make reference to it in your presentation. Now, I'll take the KLOA traffic study as exhibit 3. Is that okay with you?
Yes.
Okay. Now, why don't you start your presentation? I don't know what this project summary is. Is that some sort of a narrative, what you propose to present, or?
It's just an overall narrative summary of our presentation and highlights of the project, right?
Take that as exhibit number 4. Go ahead and tell us what you propose.
All right. Just as a quick overview on the project itself, the school, Steeple Run Elementary School is in a state of overcrowding. Has been for the last couple of years, and it's getting worse. The district gave us a call, and we embarked on a design process to put together plans for a 1,000 square foot addition that would house their kindergarten program and some other small support functions that's going on that we're proposing to put it on the northeast end of the existing building. Along with doing that, there's some disturbance in the parking lot that is adjacent to it to the east. And we're doing a little bit of reconfiguring over there, along with some grading. For details as far as traffic goes and some of the nuances and specifics of the parking lot itself, turn that over to our civil engineer to answer whatever questions that you might have.
Well, the first question I have is that you just testified that you have proposed 11,000 some square foot addition, and your site plan says 10,630. What's the story?
10,630 square feet.
So your 11,000 number was wrong?
On this number, yeah.
Okay. What's the site? I probably have the acreage here someplace, but it's 8.42 acres.
Correct.
And what's the size of your current building?
It's on the current building is approximately 58,800 square feet.
And you need it's not for us to determine whether you need an addition or you don't need an addition. It's for us to approve or disapprove of what we propose. If we propose 10,600 some square feet, because you need that for the growth of your school, right?
Correct.
So not much more needs to be said about that, but this variation going from 50 feet to 5 feet is going to have to sort of, satisfy the standards and persuade us about that. Why there can't be a different configuration. I don't want you to go through the 7 standards for variation and then say we comply with number 1, we comply with number 2, we comply with number 3, etc. We'll sort that out when you tell us about your project. But we do need to understand the unwritten requirement of variation, which is hardship, unique circumstance, or practical difficulty. So you should address that.
Okay, thank you. So up here right now, the exhibits were renumbered. Exhibit 1, plat survey on the left. Exhibit 2, site plan on the right there. So just overall, existing school has a parking lot on the west side and the east side. And there's a south parking lot, which is used for bus parking and staging operations. There's currently 91 existing parking spaces on site. And I wanted to point out a couple things on the existing site. There was some setback variance requests in 2014 on Woodcrest, a 5.4 foot setback and a 2.33 foot setback from Woodcrest. You can see here. The existing parking lot on the east is currently set back from the property line approximately 16.5 feet. And there's an existing parking area on the adjacent residential property, which is only 1 foot from the school's property line.
See that again? The last sentence.
The existing parking for the adjacent residential residential property is 1 foot from the school's property line.
On the multifamily property?
Correct. So the proposed plan on the right is showing the new revised addition, which Craig discussed. And the new parking lot proposes to be revised to have 27 additional parking spaces for a total of 118. And the proposed request for the setback is 5.1 feet along the east property line. Now there are difficulties in the school site, its size, in keeping the operation and safety issues for school, pickup and drop off, safety, how close the kids are to the entrances, to keep that parking and the operations close to the main entrances and exits of the school, which is why the reconfigured parking lot was pushed towards the east and extended north and south. It also helps keep the hardscape play and playground areas to the north kind of protected behind the schools, and where they have open green space, which they do not want to lose for safety and recreational purposes, which is one of the main reasons why we're requesting that setback on the east side. We do have a proposed fully wood 6-foot height screen fence with some landscaping on our side of the property. And as I mentioned, there is a existing condition where there is parking facing the school property only a foot away. So our, with zero screening, our proposed parking and screening we feel would be acceptable for to meet that variance request and meets the school safety and operational standards. A few other just quick highlights. The pickup and drop off operations of the school currently, the parent pickup drop off is in the west parking lot. And the east parking lot is used for teacher staff parking. And then the south lot is used for, as I mentioned, strictly bus staging, pickup and drop off. The proposed operation will change it in only one way, is that the new parking lot on the east. There's been a new drop off on that east side strictly for kindergarten pickup and drop off. Which is for safety, dropping off the kids from kindergarten separately in their own dedicated drop off. And this will, improve school operations by distributing traffic to two locations. There's, the additional parking will help with day-to-day and staff, visitor parking and for special events. It will also reduce the amount of cars on the adjacent streets by that plus 27. And then also the existing roadway capacity is sufficient for the current proposed operations, which is stated in the traffic study.
Do any of the documents that you have submitted, which we have not introduced as exhibits and which therefore are not part of the record, show highlight the areas of pickup, drop off, parking, teacher parking, etc. Is there something in here that,
Yes.
where is that? Because I think that would be useful.
So if you go to exhibit, it's labeled exhibit 9 and exhibit 10.
Okay. This what's proposed or what currently exists?
Exhibit 9 is existing, exhibit 10 is proposed.
Okay, those are important exhibits. So let's take both of those. Again, we need to remark them as 5, exhibit 9 becomes 5. And the title is, it's not school edition renovation. These are both titled school edition renovation. And
Well, that's the name of the sheet is existing drop off.
oh, yeah, okay, I see it. Okay, perfect. Exhibit 5 will be existing drop off and exhibit 6 will be proposed drop.
Correct.
Great. Done. Those are
So-
part of the-
So yeah, so you can see exhibit, the existing drop off pickup. You have the cars, parent pickup drop off happens in the west parking lot. Where everybody queues counterclockwise and drops off at the main front entrance. Parents can't control the parents, some of them do still drop off on the street. And Steeple and Woodcrest. All the bus students are strictly dropped off. In the bus, dedicated bus lot. Where they exit directly on the Woodcrest one way. Stage there, and then currently the teacher parking lot, mainly staff. There's some staff parking and visitor parking in the west, but that's that east parking lot. Right here. Where? Right here.
That mark on here?
I did not mark it as teacher parking.
Okay, well, let's, can we pencil that in into the exhibit, this exhibit, or you can pencil it on with that one. Because that's gonna be the one that is part of our record, part of our file. So,
Call it teacher parking, teacher staff. All right, so the only change, everything else stays the same. So if you look at the exhibit proposed drop off. The only difference is we're gonna take the kindergarten pickup and drop off from the west lot. And have their own dedicated drop off on the east side of the building at one of the new entrances, which is where the new addition has the new kindergarten classrooms. Correct me if I'm wrong. They're all on that. There's a total of 6, is that right? 4. A total of 4. Total kindergarten, okay, I wanted to speak. So from a safety perspective. It's much better operation, and as a traffic study suggests, it will actually improve operations of the site.
So where is the outdoor play area for the students?
We're currently the outdoor play area is there's a hardscape play area on the north side of the building. Right here,
Where's it going? Is that unchanged?
it's unchanged. That will be unchanged.
Is there a playground?
There's two playgrounds. So one playground is right off of that north hardscape area. The second playground will be impacted by the extended parking lot. And you can talk, I think the plan is to put another new playground adjacent to the existing.
I think it's important to understand the location of the. It's important to understand the use of all of the property in order to validate the need for the 27 parking spaces in the area that you indicate. Therefore, I think we need to mark the proposed hardscape playground, whatever you said, there's three.
Yeah, they're all existing.
There's three different areas. But that's not. What is this? Is this a retention area? What is this highlighted in the exhibit 6? Right on the northernmost corner.
No, that's an so they have an existing walking track around the north side of the school. That's just open green space inside of it.
Right.
So they want, yeah, so. As I discussed in my intro, some of the hardships of putting the parking up against the east property line, and extending lengthwise north and south is to minimize impacts. Keep those play areas to the north protected by the building and surrounded by open green space. And then keeping the traffic operations and pick up drop off close to the entrances and exits of the school.
I request that all this information that you give us about green space, parking and drop-offs, etc., some of which you penciled in, but can you revise your exhibit 2 site plan to indicate all of that information, label it somehow? You know, if you say in the narrative, well, we want to minimize the impact on these areas, we need to know where these areas are on the site. I think it might be instructive to hear from traffic study author, because the traffic study, as I understand from this engineer's testimony, not necessarily limit itself to the impact of the surrounding area, but rather it talks about circulation, prior circulation efficiencies. So that might either make the case or not make the case for hardship in these circumstances. Absolutely. Okay, prior.
Good evening. My name is Javier Milan. I'm a principal at LOA Incorporated, 9575 West Higgins Road, Roseland. We conduct the traffic study, and as part of the traffic study, and you're well aware of these, we have to go out there. We have to see how the school operates, you know, the peak hours count and so forth. So, having seen that, then we looked at their plan and as to what they're proposing. As it was mentioned, the idea is to actually remove or relocate the kindergartners operation to the east side. That amounts to about, I'll find it here for a second. Approximately, there's 105 kindergarten students, you know, out of what is happening in the western parking lot. That's about a 16% quote unquote shift to the east side. What that does is the operation is still the same, but rather than concentrating everything on the western lot, now you're spreading the load. It does reassign traffic because now some of those parents that were actually turning there are going to turn further south and then go over here. So we have to reassign all that traffic. Well, by doing that, you reduce, it's almost like relief valve. If you think of a pressure cooker, I mean, that's like the best thing you can do, rather than putting everything in one pot or in one area. You're putting it over there. You still have the same amount of traffic, but you're reducing the load in this area. Because of what they're doing, it distributes the drop-off and pickup activity over two zones. You have the kindergartners on the east side, and then you have all the other students on the west side. It's the way that it is today. It distributes the school traffic better along the roadways, because once again, you don't have them all concentrated in one area. And that distribution provides for a more efficient and orderly drop-off and pickup operation. Today, and I've been there 4 times now, which is 4 hours, about 8 hours that I've been observing that. From time to time, because you have everything on the western parking lot, the queue of cars do extend outside of the street. So by removing 16%, you're reducing that queue. You still have the traffic, but you're reducing it because now you're having it on the other side. So that's the whole reason why, in our opinion, you can see the traffic studies, this will have a positive impact in the surrounding streets as well as the operation of the street.
Good, thank you very much.
There's a question. Sure.
So what happens when you have a kindergarten and a fourth grader?
I'm sorry.
Correct. And what happens when you have a kindergarten and
Sorry,
fourth grade?
Janice Anderson, I like to ask the traffic engineer. What happens when you have a kindergarten pickup and a fourth grader pickup?
You mean the same parent? Same parent?
Yes.
Yeah, no, that makes sense.
No, in an instance like that, you're absolutely correct, that can happen. You have two children of different age, most likely, at least in my case, I'm gonna go and pick up my kindergartner first. So, sorry, I got a little lost. So they pick them up. Once they pick up their kindergartner, they can actually come out and then pick up their other student. So it still works the same way as it is. It's just reducing the load in here. You might say, well, now they have to do 2 trips, because now they're going to two different areas, But the reality is that you're still in the school. All you're doing is quote unquote coming out, so you can pick up your second kid.
But if you gotta get out and go around,
Correct.
I'm gonna tell my first grader, come over here.
Well,
Pick up.
the school ends here. You can answer.
That's an operational thing that will be in the school. 1 or 2 things will happen. Chances are you won't be going to pick up in 2 different spots. You'll be picking up in 1 spot, and it'll be the kindergarten spot. We'll walk the 4th grader over to the kindergarten drop off or pickup area, and then they would load into the car from there.
Isn't that more work on staff?
It's an operational thing, and I'm pretty sure, based on the conversations that we had with the principal and the kindergarten teachers, and it won't be a problem. Considering how things are operating now. Yeah, you want to, sure. I mean, not that sure.
Do they give out at the same time?
Yes, they do.
Okay.
First of all, thank you very much for allowing us to come before you tonight. We really appreciate this. There's a couple things you see this.
First of all, can you state your name again, please?
Oh, I'm sorry. Patrick Dolan, I'm the Director of Buildings and Grounds for District Naperville CUSD 203. So there are a couple things that I think would allow us to give some context to the pressure that we're having in terms of enrollment increase. You may be familiar with Steeple Run, where we were recently
Mike,
selected.
could you just answer this question?
Sure.
We don't need to I already said, it's your call whether you build a big school or demolish half the school.
Okay.
That's not up to us.
I appreciate that. Thank you. So we, at every elementary school, and especially at Steeple Run, we have family-based drop off and pickup. Most cases, the principal, as well as the administration of the school will know when somebody needs to pick up at the same time, whether one person's staying or one of the children are staying later for extracurricular. So it is absolutely the truth that if there is, especially when it comes to safety, if there's a kindergarten student and a 4th grader, they would all exit and enter through the same new east entrance.
Is there any reason why you're not going up?
Well, 2 reasons really. a two-story elementary school is kind of a rare thing for us because that would require, students conveyance up and down, staff conveyance up and down. We do have junior highs that are two-story, but in general, in this case specifically, we like to congregate class levels, grade levels, together. Where the kindergarten actually has some interaction with the first graders, the first graders may have some interaction with the second graders. So in the end, this a one-story school, elementary school, allows for more interaction, perhaps even some enhancement of the curriculum among all the grade levels. We also have one cafeteria, one gym. This allows for quicker and really more expeditious circulation within the school.
That's some sort of a published best standard, or is that the opinion of the current administration?
Well, I'm gonna ask Craig and Mike probably to do, they're the experts in elementary school education architecture. But I believe from our standpoint, it is our desired goal is to try to keep students, especially at the elementary level, on one level.
My question was, I understand it's your goal. That's what my question was, whether it's a published best practice in elementary education, or whether it's the opinion of the current administration. Or whether, I don't even know if there are best practices for it.
Well, I think there are, in the case of our curriculum, the way in which we teach, the way in which we support students with special needs, special education, social emotional learning strategies, the more that we can keep students interacting particularly with staff and specialists, the easier, I should say, probably that we can keep those students interacting with all of the support systems that we provide, would naturally lead itself into a single level. The other thing, and I should say, I mentioned there were probably two particular reasons, is that, the building wasn't designed for a second level. And the costs associated with the adding a second level with all of its support systems, just at this point wasn't financially feasible.
I have one
Does
more
that
question.
answer?
So in the papers, I do live in District 203, and I'm constantly seeing District 204 going out and talking about enrollment levels and the committees of parents and stakeholders involved. And I never hear about that with District 203. So I'd like to know, if you change the boundaries, can you alleviate not having school? I'm sure there's other schools that have less population. So what has been done with that?
I'm going to say that that is, communication that probably would come from the superintendent's office. I don't want to get ahead of Mr. Bridges, our superintendent. But I will say, and this is one thing I just wanted to get out, is Steeple Run, as I mentioned, just recently won a national award. It's a blue ribbon school, which there is a lot of value to the community, and I could say this unreservedly. It's one of our few growing populations, the boundary that's currently exists, of which we're constantly reviewing, especially with our surrounding school districts. I can say, it's anecdotal, I don't live in that neighborhood, but people are moving there specifically because of the high academic quality education at Steeple Run. And then the schools in which it feeds into the junior
I think
high.
that's the main reason they want to be in Kennedy Junior High School District. And I understand that. I just, again, you're doing things for other schools where you have space, there's space studies. I like to see the last boundary support of.
Does that pretty much wrap up your?
Yeah, you have any other questions?
All right, are there any questions from any other member of the board? No, I don't see anybody who has questions. To the petitioner, to the staff, can we circulate these two prior ordinances to the other members of the board?
Yes.
And then, finally, to the petitioner, have I unfairly excluded any of the exhibits that you think are important to your presentation or evaluation of this case?
You have the most important ones.
I see there are two people in the audience. We're done with our questioning, so would either of you like to make a statement or ask a question or indicate whether you support or oppose this petition? Both of you or one of them?
One of us is good.
Okay, sir, would you raise your hand and be sworn in?
Sure.
You do solemnly swear affirm the testimony about to give this cause in our hearing will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. So help me God.
I do.
Okay, could you walk up to the microphone, please? Sure. And begin, please, by telling us your name, spell your name, and then tell us where you live in relation to this property.
Robert Murr, MURR. I live on the corner of Partridge and Steeple Run Drive.
And do you support the petition or oppose the petition? Or perhaps you might be neutral and just have a question? What's your story?
I'm currently neutral. I have a lot of questions. Looking at the building layout design, it looks like there's a lot of wasted space in the lobby. So I question if there's other alternate designs that may not need a 5-foot setback. Maybe it could be reduced to a 10-foot setback in the design. There's other by splitting the traffic pattern. There was no discussion on how that relates to the cross traffic with the school buses in the neighborhood, because now before it was mostly cars on one side, buses had a circle that they came through. So now we've got cars and buses both trying to crisscross their traffic in and out of the school both morning and afternoon. Being a resident, and I'm there quite often, the recent addition that was only a couple years old has some design flaws that the front of the school is real easy to scale and students climb the wall and are on the roof almost every other week. And it looks like this current design also replicates what they just did 4 years ago. Another concern is noise. They have rooftop air conditioning units, and when they added more rooftop air conditioning units, when that kicks on at 3 o'clock in the morning, it's just a disturbance in the neighborhood, so they can take that into consideration.
Okay,
I think that is all.
great, thank you, sir. Who wants to, in your final summary, one person, I don't know who needs to give us a final summary and respond to whatever points.
I'll start with some of the architectural elements. I'll send it over to our civil engineer, Sean, and traffic consultant to address some of the concerns about.
No, I just said one person, right?
Okay.
That's not you, though.
Well, we have two different specialties, right? So I'm an architect.
That's why you have somebody who's the center of the petition like a board.
Okay. Sean,
I don't care if you confer. We will answer the questions or whatever. It's just one person gives the closing statement. What's your construction schedule?
Well, we hope to start construction this winter with approvals. We're also right now in the, should I say?
No, I'll read it.
We are currently in permit review with the ROE down the hall. So we're performing all of our due diligence to get
So let me answer the question. Everybody's always in a hurry. We have a November 2nd recommendation meeting, which puts you through the entire process during the course of November. By late November, you'll have a final answer, and you can proceed with the building permits, et cetera, if this proceeds favorably. Is that satisfactory to you?
I believe so. I believe that was our kind of anticipated schedule.
All right, great.
What we.
All right, sir, a summary.
Yeah, so just quick responses. Greg, help me out here. So the extra space in the front lobby is actually used for gross motor activities in space, which is why they need that, which is why we push the addition out further east. In regards to the scaling of the building, that has been addressed by the use of the type of materials in the new addition and location. In fact, I'd say that the district is aware of that, and then we're also going to put a sound blanket on the equipment, correct? And then as far as the, the traffic switching from west to east, that's all, if you read the whole traffic report, is accounted for in the traffic report. And the concern with the bus, Chris, I know what you're talking about, but the buses crossing, obviously with drop off, it's not like pickup where everyone lines up. So as far as the amount of traffic during drop off, it's intermittent. We don't believe that's a big issue. In regards to pick up, the buses get there before and stage, as soon as the parents and the buses leave their own separate entrance. So I don't see a conflict. Usually the bigger issue is during pickup.
Any other summary? Nope. Okay, thank you very much.
Mr. Chairman, sorry,
Sure.
one question.
Go right ahead.
We had an issue what, 4 or 5 months ago, just west of across Neighbor Boulevard, the childcare center. Same traffic study. Neighbors, didn't like it. It's going to cause, we're just not even a half mile down the street here with more traffic, more congestion. I'm looking at it from a more global view. And that causes me a lot of concern, just drawing all this together. I know the school's there now, I get it, but there's a lot of stuff going on at that corner. That's already one of the most dangerous intersections in suburban Chicago. Neighbor Boulevard and Maple Avenue. So, just one thing that's it.
Well, let's develop that a little further at the recommendation meeting. Okay, so we'll close the public hearing. I don't think there's anything else that's requested of the petitioner. We'll set the matter for our November recommendation meeting, which occurs at 5:30 in this room on November 2nd. That's a Wednesday night in November. You don't have to be here. You're certainly welcome to be here. It's not usual that questions come up for the petitioner, but it's a significant project and significant concern for you. So I think that we might want to be available in case questions are asked at the November recommendation. Okay, so we're off the record and closed for this.
Thank you very much.